Hello everyone, welcome back to this video series wherein we are looking at the questions from SAS Certification Prep Guide. In this video, we will see the questions from the chapter which is related to combining SAS datasets. So we have our first question which says which program will combine brothers 1 and brothers 2 to produce brothers 3. So here we have our brothers 1 dataset, 2 dataset and the resulting output dataset is being given here. In the output dataset we have here two observations, the first one and the second one. So here in the first uh, dataset we have three observations and in the second we have two observations. In the output we have two. And we also need to take a look at the names of the variables. One is var x, second one is var y, var x and var z. And in the output dataset we have all three of them. So in the first observation the value in var x is 2 and on the second observation it is 4. So here we have three unique variables when in these two datasets var x, var y and var z. So all three of them are present. And then in the second case, so we have the values from brothers 2 are appearing in the output dataset. So we are looking for a code which is actually using 1 to 1 reading. So which means so first observation from dataset 1 gets combined with first observation from dataset 2. So in this case, so the dataset which has the lesser number of observations will determine the number of observations in the final dataset. So here we have two observations in dataset 2. So in the final output dataset we will have two records. So that is possible when we have multiple set statements. So on each of which we specify the name of the dataset. So for one-to-one reading, so we'll have to specify the name of the first dataset on one set statement and followed by another set statement containing the second dataset. So we are looking for an option which contains two set statements and a and on the output data statement we are looking for the name of the dataset which is to be created brothers.3. So here we have only one option with two set statements in it. So the first option seems to be the correct one. Let's go with that. So here let's take a look at before we conclude, let's take a look at the other options. So here if we see brothers.1 and brothers.2 are mentioned on the same set statement. So when we use that kind of syntax, what happens is the observations from first dataset and second dataset gets combined. So it would have resulted in 5 observations in total. But here we only have 2 observations, which is possible only with one-to-one reading. And here in this is a variant to the second option and the third option. So here we have by var x specified. So what would have happened is like it would have interleaved. So the sorted observations in the output dataset, the records would appear in the sorted order based on the observations present in the input dataset. So but here again, so we do not have 5 observations in the output. So this is not the correct one. And then let us take a look at the last option also. So the last option says merge brothers1 dot brothers.2 by var x. So if this is the case, what would happen is, so in merging by based on the values of a particular variable, what would happen is we would get the number of observations in the output dataset will be equivalent to the number of unique values in the variable specified. So in two datasets. So here we have 1, 3, 5 in the first dataset and 2 and 4. So these are all unique. So we would get 5 observations in the output dataset if this syntax was supposed to be correct. So but this is not the case. So let's go with the first option and then see. It says our response was correct. Let us move on to the next question. So it says which program will combine actors.props1, actors.props2 and produce actors.props3. So here if we see, so we have 3 observations in first dataset, 2 observations in second dataset, and then in the final dataset we have 5 observations. So this is a case of appending. So if we take a look at the names of the variables are same in the two datasets. So we'll have the same named variables in the output dataset as well. And then if we also take a look at the output data set, we have curly, Larry, Mo, and Mo. So C, L, M. So these are alphabetically sorted. But if we take a look at the input data set, curly, Larry, Mo, and curly, Mo are present. So if this is the case, what would have happened if we directly just append? So all the observations from first dataset would come and then followed by the observations in the second dataset. But the order of the observations in the output dataset has changed and they are alphabetically ordered. So this kind of thing is possible only if we interleave two datasets. So the syntax for interleaving is you specify the names of the two datasets which you want to append on the set statement followed by the by statement based on whose variable values you have sorted the observation. So here if you see, so by we are looking for a syntax which has the names of actors.props1 and actors.props2 and a by statement with actor variable in it. So let us see if we have any such option. So here we have on the third option we have the case. So but before concluding this, let's take a look at the other options also. Here we have seen in the previous question what would happen when we use two set statements. So it would result in one-to-one reading and the number of observations in the output dataset will be equivalent to the number of observations present in the lowest dataset which has the lowest number of observations. But here it would this if the syntax was supposed to be correct, we would end up having only two observations. So this is not the case. So and again if the second option was supposed to be correct, what would happen is we would get uh, how many records? We would get all five, but the order would have been Curly, Larry, and Mo, and then Curly Mo. But here the two Curly records are appearing one next to each other. So this is not the correct option for that reason. And then here in the final option we have a merge statement being used based on actor. So here curly, so we have seen in the previous question, so the number of observations in the output dataset will be equivalent to the number of unique values present in actor variable in two of these datasets. So curly 1, Larry 2, and then Mo and Mo. So 1, 2, and 3. So the resulting dataset would only have three observations if this syntax was supposed to be correct. So let's go with third option and then see if this is the case. It says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. It says if you submit the following program, which new dataset is created? So we have been given the screenshots of two datasets. One is called data1 and the second one is data2. So in which the names of the variables are career, supervise, finance, variety, feedback, and autonomy. So no variables are common in these two datasets and they are being appended. So when we specify the names of the two datasets side by side on the set statement, all the observations from data 1 would be read first and then followed by the number of all the observations from the second dataset. And the joining will also happen based on the names of the variables. So here none of the variables are common, so all the variables present in the first dataset would appear first and then followed by the names of the variables in the second dataset. So we are looking for a dataset which contains six variables in the order career, supervise, finance, variety, feedback, and autonomy. And the dataset which and this dataset first dataset has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and second dataset also has 5 observations. So we are looking for a dataset which contains 10 observations and 6 variables. And so as these are not common, as the variables are not common, all the values for career would appear as missing, career, supervision, and finance would appear as missing. So for the records coming from data 2, and like similarly all the variables which are exclusive to data 1 will have missing values for the rows coming from data 2. So let us see which option has that. So it looks like the first option itself seems to be correct. So we have all six variables and all five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 observations from first dataset and 5 observations from second dataset appearing here. So let us take a look at the second option. So second option says, so only it has 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 observations. This is not the case. And then So, and we have our next option which says we do not have all the 6 variables in this, so this is not correct. So first option seems to be correct. Let's go with that and see if this is the case. So it says our response is correct. So let us go to the next question. So it says if you concatenate the data sets shown below in the order shown, so it is saying concatenation or appending. So what is the value of sale in observation 2 of the new data set? So we have sales reps, close and bonus, and they have said that they are appended in the same manner. So the number of variables that would be presenting in the output is will be equivalent to the number of unique variables which are seen across all data sets. So the first one will be ID, name, and then ID we already have it. So we'll get sale as an additional variable, and again from the third data set. So ID is again common. So we'll have bonus. So we'll have 4 variables in the output data set in the appended one. So the question was what will be the value of the sale variable in observation 2. So when we specify sales.reps as the first data set on the set statement, the first observation would be from ID 1 and second observation would be for Kelly Windsor. So, but when we append, so we'll get a one row for each of these values. So as we the second observation is coming from sales.reps which do not have the variable sale, so that variable would have a value of missing in the output data set. So we have the first option which says missing. So let's go with that and then see. It says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So what happens when you merge these two when you merge the following data sets based on the variable SSN. So first and second data sets are being given. So they said like it is they are being merged based on the values present in SSN variable. So if we take a look at the variables present in first data set, there is a variable named SSN, and the second data set also we have SSN, and we are merging based on that. And then we have a variable named age in the first data set, and a same named variable is present in second data set. So by merging, when we merge, what happens is when we combine observations from different data sets to create a single observation. So, but when we have same named variables which are not used in the by statement, what will happen is the values from the second data set would overwrite the values coming from the first data set. So we are looking for an option which says this. So the first option says values of age in the first dataset override the values of age in the second dataset. So let's say this is second, this is first. So this option says the values in the first dataset override. It is the opposite. So this is not correct. So the values of age in the second dataset override the values in the first dataset. This is actually the case. So whichever we specify on the merge statement, say for example, first and then second. So if we have a same named variable which is present in both dataset which is not specified on the by statement, the values from the second dataset override the values from first dataset. So this seems to be correct, second option, but before we conclude, let's go through the other option. The data step fails because the dataset contains same named variable that have different values. So the data step may fail if the data types of these two variables are different, but difference in values does not actually cause the data step to fail. So this is not correct. So the values of age in the second data set are set to missing. So we will not have two variables with the same name in the data set. So this is not the case. So let's go with the second option and then see. It says our response is correct. Let's move on to the next question. It says suppose you merge the data set 1 and 2. So they said like we are merging the data sets set 1 and set 2 using the syntax below. Health set 1, health set 2, and an in is equal to option is being used to create a temporary variable named in1, and again on the set 2, so in2 is being created. So in this temporary variable, so a value of 1 or 0 would be present. So a value of 1 would be present when a particular value present in the ID variable, which is specified in the by statement, is present in both the data sets. So it will have a value of 1. Sorry. So the value of in one will be 1 if an observation. So what happens when merging is observations from two different data sets get combined into a single observation. So if an observation, if the data set is contributing to a particular observation, so we'll have a value of 1 for that temporary variable in one or in two. So for example, if we have a particular ID value which is present only in one data set but not in the other data set, that newly created observation will so we'll have one record created in the output dataset for each unique value in ID. Say for example, if an ID is present only in uh, one of the dataset but not in the other, so the value of the temporary variable specified on the other dataset would be 0 and it will be 1 here. So similarly, in1 will be 0 if that observation is not if the output observation is not contributed by the dataset which is specified on the set 1 here. So we'll now see what is the case. So here if we see, it said in 1 and in 2. So and this in 1 and in 1 in 2 will have temporary values of 1 or 0, 1 or 0 if a ID value is present in for the first dataset and second dataset. So here we are actually checking for the ID values which are present in both the datasets. So here 1129 is common, 1274 we do not have it, 1387 is present in both of them, 2304 is present in both of them, 5438 is present in both of them, 6488 is present in both of them, 9012 is present in both of them, 9125 is present in both of them. So what we are actually saying is, say in the output dataset, if we do not have this statement used, so what would happen is, so we would get the number of observations will be equivalent to the number of unique values present in the variable specified on the by statement. Here it is ID. So the number of common ID values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. 7 are common to both. So and we have 8 here, 9, 10, 11. So there are 11 unique values out of which 7 are common to both and 4 are only exclusive to the set 1. So by default, if we do not use this if in 1 and in 2, so we would have got 11 observations. So and when we said by ID, so if an ID is present in both of them, so on such records in 1 would be 1 and in 2 will be 1. So we have in 1 and in 2 being used. So only those records which are contributing coming from both the datasets would be returned to the output dataset. So we are looking for a dataset which has 7 observations which are equivalent to the ID values present in set 2, because as all the ID values present in set 2 are present in ID 1 as well. So the first one said 11, second option said 11, third option said 7. So this seems to be the closest as per our understanding. So let us go with this and then see. It says our response is correct. Let's move on to the next question. So it says the dataset ensemble.spring and ensemble.summer both contain a variable named blue. How do you prevent the variables of the variable? How do you prevent the values from variable blue being overwritten when you merge two datasets? So it said there is a common named variable named blue in both the data set. So we have seen in an earlier case when there is a common named variable in two data set, but if it is not specified in the by statement, so the values from second data set would overwrite the values present in first data set. So here this gets overwritten. So in order to prevent this overwriting, so what we can do is rename the variable blue to some other name in one of the data sets. So let us see if we have a option which is having that rename option on one of the data sets. So if we take a look at the Last option we have it, so wherein we are renaming the blue variable to navy on the first data set. So let us select that and see if this is the case. So it says our response was correct. Let's move on to the next question. So it says what happens if you submit the following program to merge blood donors 1 and blood donors 2 shown below. So it says work.merged blood donors 1 blood donors 2 by ID. So we have the records and donors one as 2304 1129 1129 1129 and 2486. So looks like this is not sorted based on the ascending values here. 2304 is appearing before 1129 here. Similarly here also the observations are not sorted based on the value specified, uh, variable specified on the by statement here. So this should actually result in a error saying that they are not sorted. So the merge, it says the data step produces errors. So this seems to be the closest, but let's take a look at the other options. It says the merge dataset contains some missing values because not all observations are missing matching observations in the other. So this would have been true only if their values would have been sorted on both these datasets. So, but that is not the case. The merged dataset contains 8 observations. This fails because they are not sorted. So this is not the case. So let us go with the last option and then third option, which says dataset produces errors and see. It says our response was correct, and if you see the explanation, the two input datasets are not sorted by the by variable, so the data step produces errors and stops processing. So let's move on to the next question. It says if you merge company.staff1 and company.staff2 by the ID, how many observations does the new dataset contain? So we were discussing the number of observations that would be resulted in a merge earlier as well. So the number of observations in the output dataset will be equivalent to the number of unique values specified in the by variables. So here it is only one. So we have 000, which is 1, and then 111 seems to be common in both of them, so this is 2, and then 222 is also common to these two, so the third unique value, and then 888 is present in both of them, so this is fourth, and then 777 is present only in this, but this is a unique value, so this will become fifth, and then 999 is unique only to the first data set, so this will be 6. So the total number of observations would be 6. So let us go with the option which says 6 and then C. It says our response is correct. Let's move on to the next question. It says if you merge the dataset sales.reps and sales.close and sales.bonus by ID, so what is the value of bonus in the third observation in the new dataset? So let us see it is a merge based on ID. So what will be the variables that would be created? ID, name, and again, so ID is common, was already present in first dataset, so then no new column would be created for it. Sale and bonus. So because ID was already present. So here the question is what will be the value of bonus in the third observation. So let us see. So these are already sorted. So in the first observation, so when ID 1 is being read, so name will be corresponding to nay wrong, and then sale is $28,000, and then bonus for that ID is 2000, and then second observation would be read for this is for Kelly. So there are two observations in sales.close for this, so that will be 30,000, and this will also be for Kelly because this is kind of resulting in many to one merge. So there are multiple records for 2 here and 1 record here and 1 record here. So on these two records the value 4000 would be there. So the question was what will be the value of bonus in third observation. So third observation is for Kelly with ID 2 and the value here will be 4000. So let us go with the option 4000 and then see if this is the case. It says our response is correct. Thank you for watching and keep learning.